Okay, I think out of the interest of time, we are going to go ahead and get started. Um, Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Paul Kobian, and I serve as Environmental Affairs Officer with the City of Los Angeles, LA Sanitation and Environment. I have the honor of leading the city's comprehensive plastics reduction program, which is dedicated to advancing our shared environmental goals through the strategic reduction of single-use plastics. Today's workshop provides an important opportunity to share how the city is approaching the challenge of single-use plastic waste with a particular focus on single-use printer cartridges. This proposed ordinance represents a meaningful step toward reducing waste at the source and fostering a more sustainable circular economy. We welcome your engagement, and I look forward to your perspectives during the discussion period following the presentation. We kindly ask that you hold your questions until the conclusion of this brief 8-minute presentation. At this time, I'd like to introduce Christine Batikian. She's an environmental supervisor who is leading the city's efforts on single-use printer cartridges. Christine will walk us through the details of this important work and will provide an overview of the city's strategy moving forward. Christine?
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everyone. Let's dive into the presentation. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, we'll talk about why the city is working to reduce single-use plastics and how the printer cartridges fit into that plan. Then we'll go over the details of the proposed ban and explain what would be banned and what would still be allowed. And finally, we'll open the floor for discussion. We really want to hear what you think so we can make sure any potential ordinance is both practical and equitable. Let me take a moment to introduce LA Sanitation and Environment, or LA SAN. LA SAN is the city's lead environmental agency that works to help keep Los Angeles clean and healthy. We manage the city's solid waste, wastewater, and stormwater systems. Particularly for solid waste management, LA SAN provides collection services to 750,000 households across Los Angeles. We also oversee waste pickup for another 65,000 businesses and multifamily complexes through the Recicla program. One of LA SAN's key programs to protect public health and the environment is the Comprehensive Plastics Reduction Program. We work with businesses, residents, and other stakeholders to reduce plastic waste, including single use plastics like the printer cartridges we'll be talking about today. Now, let's talk about the main topic of today's presentation, single use printer cartridges. But first, what is a printer cartridge? Well, a printer cartridge is a small, replaceable component that holds ink or toner for your printer. These cartridges are used in all sorts of printers, from home printers to office photocopiers. Today on the market, there are a few different types of printer cartridges. You'll find original printer cartridges. These are made by the same company that makes the printer. There are also compatible printer cartridges, which are made by third-party companies, not the printer brand. You may also come across remanufactured printer cartridges. These are used by these are used printer cartridges that have been professionally cleaned, refilled, and repaired so that they can be used again. Let's take a minute and see, what do you do with your used printer cartridges? Do you refill them, throw them away, recycle them, or do something else? Whatever your answer, here is a quick tip for you. When a printer cartridge is empty, it's not something you should throw away in the trash or your recycling bin. Many printer companies have take back programs where you can return your used cartridges to be recycled or reused. You can drop them off at a specific store or mail them back to the company or a recycler. And to help everyone learn the best ways to recycle or reuse their printer cartridges once they're empty, we'll be launching an education and outreach campaign as part of this proposed ban. Now, you might be asking, what is a single use printer cartridge then? These are printer cartridges that do not have a take back program and cannot be reused, refilled, or recycled. Unfortunately, these end up in landfills and contribute to the growing waste problem. So, again, the focus of this proposed ban are printer cartridges that are not collected as part of a take back program and cannot be refilled, recycled, or reused. Each year, millions of printer cartridges are used and discarded. In the United States alone, it's estimated that over 350 million printer cartridges are thrown away every year. These cartridges are mostly made from plastic, which can take hundreds of years to break down in a landfill. As a result, they add to both the global and local plastic waste and pollution problem. Also, many printer cartridges contain hazardous chemicals that can leak into the soil and water, potentially harming animals, plants, and even people. And even though many printer manufacturers have programs to take back used printer cartridges, the reality is that single use printer cartridges do not have similar take back initiatives. Single use printer cartridges are usually made from lower quality materials that prevent them from being reused, which is why they end up in landfills or are incinerated. And addressing the issue of single use printer cartridges is part of the city's larger effort to reduce plastic pollution and waste. On October 1st, 2024, the Los Angeles City Council approved the city's strategy for cutting down on single use plastics. They also asked LA San to engage with stakeholders like you to gather feedback and make recommendations on the framework of a possible single use printer cartridge ban, including who would need to comply with this potential ordinance and what the rollout schedule would look like. The idea behind the ban would be to stop the sale of single use printer cartridges in Los Angeles, meaning stores in the city wouldn't be allowed to sell them. But don't worry, printer cartridges that can be refilled or remanufactured, or ones that come from companies with take back programs, would still be allowed. And I want to stress that the city hasn't made any decisions yet. This is just the beginning of the process, and your feedback will help us shape LA San's final recommendations. Right now, we're in the stage where we're talking to people and gathering feedback. That includes you, businesses, environmental and industry groups, and others who may be affected. By the end of June, we plan to present our recommendations to the LA City Council's Energy and Environment Committee. And your input today is important to make sure we understand how this potential ban might affect everyone and we can make it work in the best possible way. Once City Council gets our recommendation, they may ask the city's attorney to start drafting the actual ordinance. And I want to clarify, the timeline shown here is only for LA San to get our recommendations to City Council. We're still early in the process, so you'll have more opportunity to give input as things move forward. And we certainly want to hear from you. We've crafted a short public survey where you can share your thoughts, opinions, and concerns about this proposed ban. We kindly ask that you submit your feedback to us by April 23rd. And filling out the survey after this meeting will help us understand what you think and make sure we get this right. Your feedback is so very important for shaping the future of Los Angeles's environmental policies. We're also hosting another virtual meeting in the evening on April 16th for anyone who missed this session. We'll be sharing the same presentation and information in that meeting. So if you'd like to share your thoughts again, or if you've missed anything today, you can register for the evening meeting on LA Sands Eventbrite page, and the link is shown on the slide. We look forward to your participation. And thank you all for your time and your attention. We look forward to receiving your input today and through the survey so that we can put together the best possible recommendations for City Council. I'll now pass it back to Paul.
Thank you, Christine. At this time, we'd like to hear from each of you. If you have any questions or comments and you would like to be added to the speaker list, we ask that you please click the raise hand button which can be found by clicking the React symbol on your phone or computer. If you are calling into this meeting, I don't see anybody calling in, but we're asking that you please dial *9 to raise your hand. In order to hear everyone, we ask that you keep your remarks brief, less than 1 minute, if possible. If you prefer not to speak, you may also submit your questions through the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So I see Cindy has her hand up. Cindy, and you may need to unmute yourself, Cindy. There.
My clicking finger was a little slow there. Thank you very much for this presentation. Um, so basically, I feel that this is going to be a hardship on many, many people, citizens, people who have home offices, schools, government offices. I feel it's going to be hard to enforce. And I have a couple questions for you guys. So, what is worse? Cartridges in landfills are little, probably 3 cubic inches of plastic versus a whole bunch of printers that will end up in a landfill because people can't use them anymore. I have a couple specialized printers because I have a sewing and embroidery business. I do garment printing, and they use very specialized ink. They don't have any of the programs that you have put forth. Has the city calculated the sales tax loss from not allowing single-use cartridges to be sold within the city limits? The cartridges are fairly expensive, 50 to 75 bucks each. People go through them. I suspect they generate a lot of sales tax revenue for the city. Um, and so and and the enforcement, I think the enforcement would be difficult. I mean, what's stopping people from going over to Burbank to purchase cartridges for their printers? So I would be more in favor of having a robust recycling program within the city, similar to how they do table scraps. You've got our little buckets now, put the table scraps in the green can, and maybe, look at the disposal of these cartridges, which seems to be the base problem that is leading to, this restrictive sales proposal. In other words, instead of banning the sales of single-use cartridges, perhaps addressing the real issue, which is the disposal problem of them. Okay, so I am done with my little spiel.
Thank you, Cindy. And no, we really do appreciate the feedback. I'm going to pass it over to Christine. And Christine, maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit more, just in terms of what what the proposed ordinance is doing versus what it's not doing. Maybe that'll help a little bit on the clarification side of, and maybe even discussing where the single-use printer cartridges are currently coming from.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you so much for your comments, Cindy. Um, just to clarify a little bit, really the intent of of the single-use printer cartridge ban is not to ban the use of printers or really create any barriers for residents or businesses. We want to be able to have more sustainable options that are available, but you're right, that does include having proper collection and recycling opportunities for businesses, for residents. And that's why, as part of this proposed measure, we do want to have a really robust education and outreach campaign to businesses, to residents, and um, to ensure that people know how to return their used printer cartridges once they're empty. But I think what's also important to note again is that we're targeting single-use printer cartridges, and most of the printer cartridges that you currently purchase, the name brand ones, the original equipment manufacturer printer cartridges or the remanufactured printer cartridges that are currently sold in stores do have a take back program. They're able to be recycled, they're able to be remanufactured or refilled. So we are not targeting those types of printer cartridges that are currently really offered for sale in stores. The ones we're trying to target are now the ones you see a lot on online marketplaces. They're flooding online marketplaces, and they're made with really poor quality. And the manufacturers, these third parties that party companies that create them do not have a collection program. And because of they're made with the intent that they'll be used once and really discarded in the trash and not go through any recycling or collection program, they're creating a large problem. It's a hazard once they go to landfill because they do contain a lot of chemicals, and they're not meant to be landfilled. And so even if they were to be returned, say, through, an authorized collection program, they also wouldn't be able to be reused because, they're just made for single use. They're made with really poor, low quality, and they can't be refilled, in any way. So those are really what we're trying to target. The intent is not to go after the typical printer, ink or toner cartridges that you typically see and use.
Thank you, Christine, for that answer. Next in the queue, I see Livia Keen.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Good afternoon. My name is Olivia Keene. I'm an associate with the California Product Stewardship Council. We're a nonprofit with the mission of reducing waste and saving local government money. And my organization has worked closely with the City of Los Angeles Sanitation and Environment Department on several waste diversion collaborations. And I'm just here to respectfully encourage an I vote from the City Council. I think this is a really important step towards green design and source reduction for household electronics, and appreciate your work on this issue.
Thank you, Livia.
Thank you.
Next in the queue, I see Antoinette Kunda. Antoinette, you may want to unmute yourself. You're unmuted on our end. Antoinette, there may be a function on your side to unmute yourself. We can't hear you on our side. Okay, maybe if possible, if you want to put your comment or question in the Q&A box. We're going to go on to the next person that's in queue, Victoria Reiser.
Hi there, my name is actually Heidi Sanborn. I'm on apparently Victoria's system, even though it's my
Hi.
computer. But I'm with the National Stewardship Action Council, and I'm here in strong support of this direction. And I want to speak to a couple of the public comments. Apparently, Cindy, especially, she raised some really good points about some of the other products that need recycling. We do have a statewide e-waste recycling program in the state that's run by the government. It definitely needs improvement. And the state says so. They've done their own report on that. But those should be getting recycled. And I love that she's thinking about all the different products that need that system. And I do want to say that you have a lot of remanufacturers and refillers of good cartridges that can be refilled in Chatsworth. And you've lost quite a few of those to bankruptcy because the amount and the flood of illegal toner cartridges onto the market has become such a problem that they're literally disposing of 40% of what they collect that cannot refill. So this has become a crisis for jobs in the Chatsworth area. And I just want to make sure people know that you're basically a hub of remanufacturing and reuse. And unfortunately, that's we're losing them fast because of this flood of illegal product coming to the market. And the only way to stop it is to make sure that we're not, supporting these single-use products that can easily be refilled. So I strongly support the city going this direction. I know that even if you buy one, whether it's single use or it's reusable, you've got a way to tax and to fund your systems, but there's less to fund if things are getting recycled and returned to the circular economy, and we're driving jobs as well. So just wanted to say all that, and thank you again for your good work.
Thank you, Heidi. We appreciate your comments and feedback. I wanted to try Antoinette one more time. Marjorie, if we can unmute her. No. Okay. Let's head over to Jennifer Clark. Jennifer.
Hello, this is Jennifer Clark. How are you doing?
Hi, Jennifer. We can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm with one of the neighborhood councils. I'm not sure if this was targeted for any other groups, but I guess I had a question kind of related to what Cindy was asking. How do you keep? I'm not understanding how you're going to keep the like me buying a single use cartridge off of Amazon or to Cindy's example, just popping over to Burbank. I'm missing that component of it because otherwise it just sounds like an education plan, which has merit. So could you clarify that?
Yeah, I think I can quickly answer that one. I think right now we're gathering feedback right from the general public. I think the team has had some meetings with specific stakeholders, and so the intent would be to then, as I think Christine mentioned, would share that information with city council for them to determine the next steps. I think the question you bring about regarding Amazon and online purchases, those would we our city attorney's office would look at those pieces, part of their legal considerations, and so it's going to be a stepwise process regarding that. But it's not an outreach and education program. The goal here is to reduce and eliminate some of these single-use printer cartridges at the source. So that is the goal. Christine, I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to add.
You covered it all, Paul. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Are there any, trying to see if there's any questions in the Q&A?
I do see one from Antoinette and about getting a copy of the presentation. A copy of this presentation will be made available on our website right after this meeting, so you'll be able to view it there. Yes, at sanitation.lacity.gov/source reduction. We have a page dedicated to this proposed single-use printer cartridge ban there, so you'll find registration links to future public meetings there, as well as any resources.
Okay. So I see in the Q&A, I see a question from Jade. The question is, a majority of larger purchases of cartridges are bought online. Is there any plan for that, or would it just be applicable to in-person stores? Great question. I think there's the answer would be for our city attorney's office, I think, to review and consider what jurisdiction, what authority our city council has in terms of online commerce. So good question. We will see, right? We unfortunately we don't have a proposed ordinance in front of us. And so, as I think Christine mentioned, we have a stepwise process to this. Christine, if possible, maybe if we can go back to the timeline and maybe just walk us through one more time in terms of what the steps would be, in terms of what we're doing now, but then what the potential future steps may be. And I think also if you can point out that this meeting, we're us as staff, we're utilizing this to obtain feedback, but there will be public meetings where officially your comments will go into the public record regarding this. And so, Christine, maybe if you can point out those additional opportunities for the public to be engaged.
Absolutely. So, as Paul alluded to, right now we're conducting this engagement process, really reaching out to businesses, residents, consumers to get your thoughts on what this potential ordinance. It is we do not have a draft or anything like that, as Paul mentioned. It's basically to help us put together our staff report with our recommendations to City Council. It's which we plan to get to City Council by June, and we'll present this to the Energy and Environment Committee there, At that time, based on our recommendations, they can decide whether they want to move forward with a proposed ban. And so at that time, they would ask the city attorney to start putting together a draft ordinance. And that will be taken up to city council for their approval. Again, at any of these meetings, you will all be able, their public meetings, the Energy and Environment Committee meeting, as well as any city council meeting. So you would be able to attend and put in a speaker card and voice your concerns there. And if they were to move forward with requesting the city attorney to draft an ordinance, the city attorney would come back with them at a later date with a draft, and at that meeting you would also be able to kind of voice your concerns, and if city council would want to see any changes or anything like that, they would advise the city attorney then. So there are multiple meetings, and the draft ordinance could go through some iterations as well. Based on your input and based on city council's decisions on how to move forward.
Thank you, Christine. We're at 11:58. We will be here to answer all the questions as they come in. So our city staff will stay on here until we need to. I see Jennifer Clark raised her hand.
Yeah, did you guys mention there was gonna be a survey or something you wanted us to do? Am I missing where that is located?
Christine?
Yes, Marjorie, if you can. Thank you. Yes, Jennifer, great question. We do have a survey that we've put together. It's very short. You can scan this QR code, and it'll take you to the survey. We also have it up on our website, where it is available there as well. It's sanitation.lacity.gov/source reduction. So it is available for viewing and answering there as well. And we ask that you can submit your comments, your suggestions by April 23rd.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Christine. I see Cindy has their hand up.
Hi. This is more of a, I think I know the answer to this.
Did you give your comment?
Yeah, I'm the outreach
Sorry.
chair for, hello?
Hello.
Yeah, hi. I'm the outreach chair for the Foothill Trails District Neighborhood Council. And so it would be okay. I send out a weekly e-newsletter to our stakeholders. So would it be appropriate for me to include a link for those people to visit your website and also take the survey? Would that be okay with you?
Of course. Yeah, that's the more the merrier. So
Yeah.
yes, please distribute.
Okay, so I see there's a link here in the chat. So I will use that. That's probably the best thing to put in there, I guess.
Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we are at the 12 hour. Any other questions? If not, I mean, just to quickly reiterate, we have the survey, one potential source. We also have the program's landing page with more information, and then there's an email there as well. So we're definitely looking forward to receiving your feedback. So at this time, we want to just go ahead and once again thank you all for your time, your attention, your valuable feedback today. Your participation during this process and any other process here within the city is important. We highly encourage for you to remain engaged. I believe we have acquired some email addresses, and so I think as we move forward, part of the survey is if you want to be contacted, you can include your email, and we will continue to provide you updates on the progress here. So we look forward to hearing from you all, continue this journey towards a greener and cleaner Los Angeles. So once again, thank you all, and we wish that you all have a wonderful day.